Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SoccerBeat podcast. We're talking Kaizer Chiefs. I've got Coach Farouk Khan and Kaizer Chiefs legend Tsepo Masilela with me. And we've just finished Chiefs losing 1-0 to Kabuscorp in Luanda, Angola, in the first leg of the CAF Confederation Cup prelim rounds. So, gents, 2 defeats in a row for Chiefs. We can't blame Nabi for this one. I mean, he's nowhere to be seen. It's not a good first leg result. Obviously there's 2 qualifying rounds before you even get to the group stage in the CAF Confederations Cup. Most of the time when you see Sundowns, for example, in the CAF Champions League qualifiers, they cruise through, they win by big margins. Chiefs have left themselves a lot of work to do in a week's time. And their opponents aren't a bad team. I mean, they're actually a pretty decent team. We heard earlier that, this is the team that Rivaldo played for in 2012 when he, the Ballon d'Or winner. But they did finish 9th in the Angolan League last year, so you would have thought that Chiefs would probably get a nice win in the first leg and maybe even rest players in the second leg. What do you gents make of it? I mean, the team selection, firstly, is Quinnica coming at right back seemed like quite a negative one. What do you make of that one, Coach?
Well, I was quite surprised to have Quinnica starting on the right when you have Rossler there, but I suppose they wanted to ensure that they have somebody solid on that side. They must have studied the opposition Kabuscorp. I think Chiefs started very well. They created some chances. Again, what let them down is a bit of erratic finishing, poor decision-making. When you look at Lelepo there, I think he should have been more composed, and maybe just look to get that ball across the goal. Anything is possible when that happens. But be that as it may, I think, again, something that should have been taken care of. When you look at that particular goal, I think against Skokuni, we also struggled aerially. It seems like it's something that wasn't sorted out. I mean, the cross made in, and Julio comes in and he scores ahead. He's not the tallest of players up front for Kabuscorp. I was a bit disappointed in the way Kaizer Chiefs conceded. But be that as it may, I think it was quite an even game. Both teams created chances. I do think we don't need to look too much into the first leg. I think Chiefs will have enough going into the second leg to turn this over. But again, when you see a team's performance like this, you don't expect this from Kaizer Chiefs. Yes, people will argue they also finished 9th, in our local domestic league. But be that as it may, I mean, it's the first time I hear about Kabuscorp. I mean, whereas Chiefs is a brand that's known internationally, So I think they should have at least come back with a result. When you play away, you tell yourself the mandate is we don't concede. If we go home with a draw, fine, we'll get all 3 points once we get home. But to concede like that, it's not a good thing. And with this type of football, Grant, anything is possible. We can't take too much for granted, although I'm confident Chiefs can turn this decision around. But again, not the best of performances from Kaizer Chiefs this afternoon.
Yeah, Tsepo, I mean, this, Quinnica right back, maybe they came and said, let's just get a 0-0 draw. We're not going to play Frosler, who actually played well against Sekakuna, and he hasn't played a lot of games, so you probably would have thought he has a chance to get a run of starts. Maybe they came and tried to play for 0-0. But the aerial deficiencies are quite alarming. I mean, McCarthy and Marco, when you have 2 players on the same side of your defense, you're not the best in the air, then teams are going to target you on the back post. If one plays and you've got maybe a Bradley Cross next to McCarthy, or Marco plays and then you've got maybe Miguel, then you've got the height in the team. But I mean, even in preseason, I said Marco's good on the ground, but he's going to give you less aerial protection than he did Cloakwear, Dove, and all these left backs they had last year. So, I mean, do they have an aerial problem going forward if they play those 2 at the same time?
No, I don't really think it's an aerial problem. And it was a toothless performance from Kaizer Chiefs. Actually, it was an even game, And I think with Quinnica right back, they went into the game thinking 0-0, if you can still the result, with a lucky goal, or because find out that they are nowhere to be seen. They didn't create much. It's only that first half chance of Lilipo and maybe the shot from Trailer that hit the crossbar. But other than that, they were in the final third. I don't know how to put it, but I saw it's still that Nabi's team without Nabi on the bench. They can go on in a good run, and they can, go on a bad run again. When you say two defeats in a row, like it's alarming. Like, I expected a reaction from the Kaizer Chiefs team.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue. They lost in the week. They played their best team here, Coach, and then you'd think, let's get a reaction. Even the two assistants want to put their stamp on the job and show, okay, we've got a reaction from the players behind us. They had chances in the first half. Leopold missed a couple. But in the second half, when they were chasing the game, it was all a bit, just they weren't really creating a lot. And Wandile Duba, again, with tight spaces to play in, he's not really the striker to bring on when you're chasing a goal. If you bring on Silva, maybe in that situation, it makes sense. But Duba definitely really done more late in games.
Yeah, for me, I think, look, I'm not going to discuss too much of the starting lineup. I think the subs there, I would have thought that, bringing on the likes of Vilakazi and Dupree could have been a prerequisite to having to bring on Frosler, because Frosler, I think, is more suited to play on the right back. You want some speed, you want some pace from Dupree on the right, and you've got the Vilakazi coming in. But be that is, if you look at the stats in the first half, I mean, Kaizer Chiefs had 3 football target. And they only had, 3 shots and only 1 on target, whereas Kabuscorp had 2 and 1. But if you look at the possession, 51-49, Chiefs is a team that looks more dominant in possession. They keep the ball well. But it's those chances that they need to convert, those entries into the box. It doesn't seem like it's coming. I mean, last season we saw Chiefs had a minus goal difference. That's an area where I think there should be some urgency in fixing it up. You sign so many attackers, yet you look lukewarm when you get in front of goal. Surely when you sign that type of attacking force, you should have at least many more shots on target. You should have at least had a goal or two, for your team today. But that wasn't the case. We had Silva up front. Yes, he scored 2 goals. He didn't look like he was the player that could turn things around. And then you bring on the likes of Dupree. He's been there last season. You're going to get the same from him. Villa is a type of player that's going to give you a little bit of skill, penetration. But Chiefs don't seem to have that puzzle in the last third, in the attacking third, sorted out yet. And this week they're off. Kabuscorp has got a game in this week, and they have a key player that's been sent off. So now that should be of great benefit to Chiefs at home with all of these things that I've mentioned. They should walk this one.
They should do, but I thought they'd maybe win 1-0 or 2-0 in the first leg. Secondly, they could maybe bring in the Chislets and the guys who are dying for game time. Now they haven't got that luxury. They're going to have to play best team against Maruma Galads, who, as you mentioned, coach, were outstanding against Sundowns, beat Pirates, and then they've got to play their full strength team in the second leg, try to get through out of this game. It's suddenly now a much bigger uphill battle, and this is the first qualifying round of CAF Confederations Cup. Tsepo in the battle of the 9th place, there's Chiefs against South Africa's 9th finish against Angola's 9th finish. They didn't create enough. But what did you make of the penalty shots? There was one decent one in Leopold and a decent one in Dupree. What do you think either of those could have been given?
Now, with penalties and referee's decision, on the day you can be lucky, or on the day you can be unlucky. But when I look at the performance, if they perform like this in the second leg, I don't see them coming back. There's something missing in the final third, that agency. And I'm not sure how far is Igadoro, but such games, they need a number 9 with physique who's strong aerially. What I've noticed about Silva, it depends more on the service. And if you look at the game today, there was no service for him. There was no chances created for him. And when they don't, like, the attacking players, the wingers and the number 10s, when there's no service for him, I don't think you'll get much from him. But with Igadoro, because it's very strong aerially and it's got that presence in the box, he's a guy that I think I don't know how far he is, but I think they need him as soon as possible.
Yeah, and Kanyisa Mayo, he was signed last week. For some reason, his registration wasn't completed quick enough, which has been a trend this season. We saw how long it took for De Silva and Chislet to get their papers sorted out. Mayo as well has been delayed. He should have been already on the bench against Sigakuna. I don't know if he could have been registered for this game in time, but hopefully he's ready for the Gallants game. He'll be out of the second leg. If people weren't sure if Chiefs needed him, I think the last 2 games have shown they really need a ruthless finisher because, Silva has his moments. Dupree doesn't look really in favor. He's only playing about a quarter of the minutes available. Even last season, he only played about 35, 40% of the minutes. So, Coach, Mayo, we spoke about, he is like, he's Chiefs are kind of desperately calling out for him at the moment.
Well, I think absolutely him and Mabue is key players that need to come on. Tsepo spoke about Igadaro. He's also another option. I just don't think the midfield gives me that confidence. The players are coming in. I mean, we always punting for the likes. I'm punting for Savino. He didn't really make much of an impact today. I mean, even though he came in late, you need players to come in and really make an impact. Shaba started in the game. He looked a bit lackluster as well. The occasional spark, but you need more than that. Kaizer Chiefs is a team where you need consistency. You need to ensure that all those players in that midfield up front are firing on all cylinders. And I just don't get that feeling when I see them. They lose possession carelessly. Decision making is bad at times. They look to go long when they should keep the ball better. They're not patient enough. Right? I think they need to keep the ball more, especially against teams like this where Kaizer Chiefs have players that can recycle and cycle their ball better and look for those key moments to penetrate. Sometimes they become predictable. If you look at them, they become, especially when they go a goal down, they look for route one. And route one is the easiest to defend against. You just pass the buck, or you just park the bus, and you wait. And that is what I think Kabuscorp did this afternoon.
Chiefs haven't played a lot of CAF football, Tsepo, and McCarthy, not a big centre back. I know you say he's maybe not an aerial deficiency overall, but in CAF, you need the physical monsters at the back. You mentioned Igodaro. I think it's maybe just a teething problem. They know when they can get a little bit more size into their team in the CAF, they should be stronger. But I agree with you, Tsepo. If Chiefs don't improve, they're not going through into the second qualifying round. That would be an absolute disaster. In fact, even if they didn't get out the group stage, it would be a disaster, and that's a long way away at the moment. There's still a second leg and a whole nother two-legged tie. Gents, thanks for joining me. We've got Gallants in the week. What's the one thing you want to see in that Gallants game that we haven't seen from Chiefs lately? Is it just a bit more intensity, hunger? Is it more shots? Is there one thing you're looking for, Tsepo, to see a bit more from Amakhosi in that Gallants game?
No, definitely more energy in the team and more intensity, and maybe a Vilagazi in this game, wouldn't be bad. We can start with a Vilagazi try. Yes, from the onset. I don't know. As I said, I don't know how far is Igadoro, but he needs some minutes in his legs. And yeah, man, and they need to get a balance right in the defense. You can't have a Quinica first half in the right and Quinica, central in the last 30 minutes of the. You need to decide. And when you're playing the league games, and I think they're at home, right? When you're at home, you want to dominate, you want to outplay, you want to outscore the opponent. So they need to set the tone, from the onset of the game, to say that this is our home game, or we've lost 2 games on the trot now. Like it's enough. We need a win. We need a points in the league. So I want them to set the tone from the onset.
Yeah, and for you, Coach, anything you want to see from Chiefs difference? Is it just some different legs in the team or different approach?
Grant, I don't know if you guys noticed this. For me, okay, the first thing I want to see is more goals. But I also want to see, since they're having, 2 joint head coaches, okay? And then they still have a goalkeeper coach who's obviously very vociferous. For me personally, I think they must allow the 2 coaches to guide a team. You can't have the goalkeeper coach standing up, giving instructions. This just causes confusion. We saw a similar situation when Baxter was there with his son. Goalkeeper coach should know his place. For me personally, I just think, when the players get instruction, they can't be listening to 3 voices. They must listen. In this case, they have to listen to 2 voices. And I just think maybe it sounds very trivial. But for me, coming from that background, I understood what my role was when I was assisting head coaches, and when I was a head coach, I knew my place. So I think sometimes, when there's so much excitement, this can cause problems. And I'm not saying the players don't have any fault in this, result. But I just think when you see the goalkeeper coach standing up, giving instructions and reiterate, going on over the officials, I think they must nip that in the bud. Personally, I think Chiefs should do that. And then just give the boys more confidence, more motivation, and who knows, maybe they can turn this thing around.
Yeah, I agree with you. Both the coaches, the goalkeeper coach, even the captaincy. Today was Miguel, Quinica was playing. Other games, we saw Quinica captain with Miguel on the field. It's all a bit confused and a bit of a mess. So a bit more clarity on those 2, I think, would be good. And yeah, as Tsepo says, a nice fast start, maybe with the energy of Vilakazi to kind of lift the crowd as well. Gents, thanks for joining me. Let's hope Chiefs can turn things around in the next 7 days. Things will look so much more rosy with 3 points in the league and progression in the CAF. Of course, it could look quite negative if they drop points against Gallants and crash out. Let's chat in the next few days. Cheers, guys.